Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thomas, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
And we're back again today for episode 46. Yes, 46 of Podcast 2 for 1. For all future content, go to... Where am I going?
Where are you going with this?
I don't know, man.
You were doing this. You were doing the end stinger. I think you were doing the end.
I think I was combining it together.
Yeah,
it's weird because we just.
That's
shot
what happens when we shoot out of order.
That is true. Anyway, make sure you hit that subscribe button below and the notification bell. That way, you update on all future episodes. And go to podcastsuper1.com for all future content. And of course, we have a few things around the corner, maybe about 3 or 4 episodes around, and then we'll have some more cool ideas for you in the future. Yeah, of course. Next week we have Bruce Hutchinson coming back in to talk Atomic Blonde.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
That's
I've
next
never
week.
seen it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to kind of dive into some new moviness.
Yeah, he's a big fan. And of course, if you want to go back and listen to our old content, go back and do that. We always recommend that YouTube is the best place to confirm to watch the. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I can
tired.
tell you're like just.
I was like,
You're
doing,
like stumbling and then you're just giving up halfway
exactly.
through.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, fuck
hey,
it.
You know what?
I'm feel like Biden right now.
It's Wednesday, but it feels like fucking Thursday night at midnight.
It does.
To me,
It does.
personally. It feels like God.
And of course, later in the episode, we have our made in Arkansas is Johnnie Brannon coming in to talk indie film and method acting.
Of indie cinema.
Yeah, pretty much. So, Daniel, what have you been up to lately?
I've been watching some shit, actually.
Yeah.
So first of all, I finally finished Hannibal, season 3. I actually had like 2 episodes left. I thought I had like more than that, but I only had 2 left. And I really enjoyed it. Of course, I mean, I think it kept its quality throughout. I would say there's part of it that I feel like. Part of me feels like the first 2 seasons were a little better because Hannibal was more part of the story and he was more active and he was more
right.
Honestly, I think the first season may be the best season. It's really good, but or maybe this first half of the second season, I can't remember. But it was still really good. A very good interpretation of Red Dragon. They do some things to shake it up, especially at the end, which was nice for me. Just knowing how Red Dragon is, like, oh, this is not. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. It's kind of nice. And definitely leave it a very open-ended. You could tell that they thought this could be the end. Because the way that it ends is just like, well, okay. Either way, it could end or it could begin again. Who knows? I also finished season 1 and 2 of Umbrella Academy in like the last 2 weeks.
Right.
So I totally late to that game, never checked it out, or never checked that show out. But season 2 was getting all this hype. I mean, like season 2, everyone was like, yeah, it's everything season 1 was, but better. And season 1 was good. I was like, okay, maybe I'll finally check this out. And I really enjoyed it. I liked the characters. Their use of soundtrack in the editing is brilliant. It's very, very good. I love how they find weird ways to do the title card in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like it comes in different ways every time. I love that. That just feels fun. But the characters are great. I love number 5. I love Luther a lot. I love Ben, the dead one that's hanging out with Klaus. I love Klaus too. So I like all the characters. I like the family dynamic. I like the plot. It's like even in season 2, like stuff happened. You're like, what?
Really?
This is happening? What? Like
I need to watch it.
What the? Like just total left field curveballs that you would never predict. Now it's always that thing of, well, I hope this comes good whenever they deal with this, and who knows. But I really enjoyed Umbrella Academy. I'm looking forward to more. Now I'm intent on watching Doom Patrol from our discussions because you kind of said they're very similar concepts, kind of similar, ideas of these
kind of
superheroes that are normal, kind of have normal people problems, kind of shit.
Yeah.
Mental health and bad parents and all that kind of stuff.
Have you started Doom Patrol?
I have not.
Okay.
No. Yeah, it's HBO Max, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I do have
It's that or DC Universe Online, whichever one.
I have HBO Max.
Which I guess we're kind of confirmed like the last couple of days that they're moving all those shows to HBO Max, and it sounds like they are going to eventually dissolve DC Universe Online.
It makes sense.
It does.
They just need to have a DCU tab in HBO Max, and you click on it, and it's everything.
Yeah, they need to. What would be really cool if HBO Max has all the comics still. That would be that's what I care about.
Surely they won't get rid of that part of it. They'll have that live in some way.
Maybe they didn't make
Maybe
it
a
cheaper
separate
then.
service that's just the comics.
If it's that, they didn't make like $1 or $2 cheaper every month. You're subscribing to the comic service. I'd still keep it if that was the case.
Sure. Was Doom Patrol made for HBO or made on HBO for HBO, or was it made on a different network?
It was made for DC Universe.
Oh, it originated on DC Universe. The website. Or the streaming? Was that a streaming
It's
service?
the streaming service, yeah. So Titans, Harley Quinn, Swamp Thing, all those were DC, and also Stargirl. That's all DC universe. Stargirl's moving to CW. Swamp Thing has a limited run on CW, and then Titans and Harley Quinn, and also Doom Patrol are all going HBO Max.
Titans, Teen Titans.
Yeah,
It's not
but
live action, right? It's cartoon.
No, it's live action.
Has it already been out?
Season 2's out, baby.
Is it good?
Pretty dope. I mean,
My issue is like I've heard
it's more
nothing about
Titans is the weaker one of those two. Doom Patrol. It's the whole. I don't know if you saw the trailer, but it's like "fuck you, Batman."
Oh, that's right.
But there's some cool
Batman or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I
There's some cool stuff in it.
Being like, okay,
It's kinda-
trying too hard to be edgy.
I mean, it's very melodramatic, of course. It kind of lines more up with CW kind of stuff, but
Doom Patrol's better than that.
oh yeah,
Doom Patrol's like,
dude, it's actually good.
do you feel like it belongs on HBO? That good?
Yeah, I mean, like it's hard because I think when I think HBO, I just think like prime time
I think
premiere.
of like perfect, like best TV ever.
I don't know why it couldn't go up there with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe the visual effects, maybe not so. Even though they're pretty good for television, they're just not like.
I wonder if they'll get more budget now that they're on HBO and like future seasons.
I bet they will, and it's still pretty good. That being said,
yeah, that's me. That's what I've been watching.
Yeah. So I've of course been watching Doom. I started Doom Patrol over again. Started Umbrella Academy. Neither one. I like Doom Patrol probably a little bit better than Umbrella Academy just because I like the characters and I like Brendan Fraser.
And you've got prior familiarity, right, with him?
A little bit,
DC,
yeah. And
DC
I just
guy?
think that I like the tone a little bit better and just the goofiness of it more. Umbrella Academy just hasn't really grabbed me yet.
How many episodes have you watched?
4 or 5.
Okay.
And I don't know why. Maybe I just haven't been in the mood for television lately.
Sure.
I've been kind of more in this gaming mood since we've been talking about all this gaming stuff. But I finished Banjo-Kazooie.
Nice.
Finally. And me and Noah did, and it was awesome. Cool ending, and it was just fun. Funny thing is at the very end, like Banjo's drinking like a beer and shit on a beach, and also there's this. And the whole thing is anthropomorphic, or whatever the word is, animals. But there's a woman in a bikini, like an actual human in a bikini, walking on the beach, and like Banjo's looking at him, and it's just like this weird. Ending.
That's such an early 2000s, late 90s thing. Like I remember that time. Like, I'm pretty sure I remember, like, IGN.com used to have, like, a Babe of the Day section.
Oh, they did.
You know what I mean?
They did.
It was like, oh, yeah, here's a hot girl in video games. Here's your hot, that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants a hot girl in a video game. You know, it's just like that weird, like, preteen age of, like, it was like video game industry was in, like, their preteens.
Yeah.
And they had, like, the mind of a kid going through puberty.
Well, they thought, back like everything else, that only boys like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So another thing is, I beat the entirety of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh yeah, do you like it?
I think the first half I was kind of it was like kind of mundane and kind of frustrating, and there was some moments I literally looked up online like, do people actually like this game? But by the end of it, I did enjoy the second half when the combat kind of picked up more and you had more combat involved, and I like the puzzles better in the second half than the first half. It's one of the rare exceptions where the second half is kind of better. So it was fine. I'll probably play the second one just because I'm curious as to what they do, but I'm not like just over the moon over it or anything.
Yeah, I don't feel like I ever hear the gameplay being praised that much as like the narrative and the concepts they're playing with.
Yeah, and
that seems
it's
to be what
interesting.
people most draw from it.
It's interesting, and I think again, there's things in the end that I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and there were some cool moments in it. Also, you know, we've been playing Halo, of course, and then we started Gears last night. Also finished and watched Project Power, starring Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and kind of echo some other reviews that I've seen. And I had this thought, you know, before I started looking at them, was the idea and the premise is pretty interesting, and I think the visual effects are actually pretty top notch in a lot of places, and one particular moment not so much. But the movie kind of falls apart at the end, and the big thing for me was the villain wasn't very. I didn't know who the villain was by the second half of the movie, and then the motivation.
It's been getting bad reviews. This is about like, whoa, this is the most predictable thing ever. It's the most,
I think the world. It's kind of like Bright, where the world's interesting, and I think the concept's interesting, but the execution is kind of where we're falling apart.
I saw a lot of people thinking the Old Guard was better than that, even.
I saw the Old Guard,
and a lot of people, the opinions I was reading in like the review sections and stuff, a lot of people were saying, "Wow, the Old Guard was better than this."
The Old Guard is better than Project Power. But the Old Guard's not a bad movie.
No, but it's not amazing.
It's not like it don't blow you away, but it's got some good fighting in it. and it's got also an interesting concept. I feel,
Sure.
and I think I guess we never talked about the Old Guard. Me watching it on the podcast, but
No, we didn't.
because we had the reaction on the YouTube channel.
Right.
But essentially, I mean, the best thing about that was the I can't think of their names, but the couple, the two guys,
The gay couple, yeah.
the gay couple,
We were
yeah,
talking about that.
they were great. They were great, like chemistry,
chemistry, yeah.
and it's just fun to watch on camera and stuff. And yeah, I did it. It wasn't bad. I would definitely watch a sequel for that. Out of all those 3 movies, 100% Old Guard is the best. It also has the biggest budget, and it's like it looks that could come in theaters, and 100%.
Yeah, I could have seen that in theaters.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've been watching. Everything. One thing also kind of touch upon again next week. We not only have Bruce Hutchison in for Atomic Blonde, we might also do another baby cast, kind of reviewing and talking about DC fandom, which
Right.
that there's a lot of big things
Be a lot
happening
of fun things happening this
on the
week.
22nd, this upcoming weekend. So check that out.
Indeed.
And come back and listen to our thoughts and other things about that.
Better.
You ready to snap over to Johnny?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And we are back with Johnnie Brannon of Maiden, Arkansas. Johnny, it's nice to have you back again.
Nice to be back again.
Cool.
That is cool.
It is very cool.
It's pretty cool.
And we're back with our topic of the episode. Daniel, what's our topic?
Today's topic. So there was an article that went around a couple weeks ago. You guys may have seen it. It was called Sundance Sunset. Is it the death of indie cinema or something? The subtitle was something to that effect. So it was making the rounds. You guys may have seen it. I saw a lot of different people talking about it, sharing it. But I thought it'd be an interesting thing for us to talk about because we're all independent filmmakers and hope to continue rising through the ranks of that avenue. So I'm going to read, I kind of pulled an excerpt that I think generally summarizes what the article is talking about. I'm going to read that. It's by, I believe it was by The Guardian. I'm going to look that up. And just in case.
And if he's wrong, tell him how much of a fucking idiot he is.
Well, I'm doing this so that, it is The Guardian. Sundance Sunset is the death of indie cinema imminent. If you'd like to go and read that, it is by The Guardian. They published it on August 10th. So let's get into this. So it starts, it used to be the dream scenario for aspiring filmmakers, indie filmmakers. You would scrabble together a first feature, maxing out credit cards and remortgaging your parents' house, and get it shown at the Sundance Film Festival where your raw talent would get noticed and your movie picked up for a record sum, establishing your A-list career. In the early 2000s, thousands followed that dream, hoping to be the next Quentin Tarantino or Paul Thomas Anderson. It was barely achievable at the best of times. Last year's Sundance received more than 14,000 submissions, but right now is the worst of times. In a recent interview in Variety, filmmaker Oren Moverman did not mince his words. He says, "It's very clear that independent cinema as we know it and as we love it is over." Moverman, who directed movies such as The Messenger and Rampart, which I've never seen or really heard of, it was a sidebar, questioned whether there was still a place for this sort of grungy putting together of $10 here, $10 there to make a film. Even if they do get their films made, indie filmmakers have no place to show them. The pandemic has exacerbated a trend that is already pushing studio blockbusters towards the big screen and everything else towards the small screen. So I'll end it there. There's more, go ahead and read more. But they basically go on to continue those kinds of thoughts that there's no place for independent film at the cinema. And will continue to not be. And that trend will be, continue to go. So let me start to you guys. Let's just get some general reactions.
Just to clarify real quick. So you're saying basically the article is basically saying that there's no room for independent films or low budget movies to be shown in theaters.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Okay.
And it's a little bit, I guess it's a little confusing for me because I think of indie cinema. I don't think of that cinema being the core word there, like being at the cinema or at a theater. When I think of indie cinema, I think of just indie films. And
sure.
But so when I read that, that was kind of my understanding. I was like, oh, okay, they're just talking about the movie theaters here. They're not talking about films being shown. They're just talking about films being shown in a theater.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about that? You think it's accurate? Do you think it's does it matter?
What do you think, Johnny?
Well, we're definitely in a interesting time when it comes to filmmaking. Our festival this year, we were virtual, and it was a success. We actually had a successful year virtually. We had a lot of people watch films. We had a lot of feedback. We had more films. Actually, we was actually able to program more films virtually than we would have if we would have had a screen at the Ron Robinson Theater where we're going to have which is our venue. It's so hard to say because indie films, it's kind of all over the place. Whether you got something like Blair Witch that was made for $30,000 and made millions, it became like a cult hit, and then you got films like the most recently I watched on Hulu was To the Stars, and a friend of mine produced that, and two people that we all know were in it, and they shot over in Oklahoma. But look at that film, it's a fantastic film, but it went straight to Hulu. It did go to Sundance, and it did get that build up, but two different types of films, two different types of success. You know what I mean? So. It's really hard to say because right now we're in unprecedented times when it comes to filmmaking. So we really can't say, let's make it this first year. This is how it's going to be. Sure. Like we'll never see any films in a theater again. Sorry, I got to scratch my nose. So I'm of course, I'm an optimist as it is anyway. As long as there's film festivals, I mean, hell, if Sundance is going to do virtual, your film is going to get screened. So I think that I think the rough part right now is actually just getting your film made. Because right now with safety issues and whatnot, I know there's a couple of films that was shot here in Arkansas at the moment. I worked on one of them up in Fayetteville or Bentonville, and they took every measure to make sure that everything was safe on set. It was pretty incredible. So I think as long as you take, you follow the guidelines, there's actually a place online that you can go and get certified for COVID safety.
Yeah, I think I've seen people posting screenshots of that kind of stuff.
They had their certificate.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you got something, you got that, you take your precautions, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Man, I don't. That's a hard question. I think. In relation to its independent film dead in the cinemas, I don't know. It depends on a lot of different factors. It depends on who made the movie, who stars in the movie, and just I don't know. That's a hard question. I mean, Parasite might be a bad example. Parasite.
Yeah, Parasite's hard to compare. Parasite is really an anomaly.
It is an anomaly. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a movie that I would classify as independent that went to movie theaters recently. I mean, I don't know. But also then you have to ask yourself,
Honey Boy independent?
Yeah, I would say Honey. Well, I don't know.
But at the same time, you got Shia LaBeouf behind it and his
budget
name and
let's look at the budget.
I bet the budget was pretty significant.
Well, first of all, my big question is what would we classify as independent film on a budget level?
But is it about budget or is it about production companies? Is it about being produced by one of the big companies?
Here's the budget. It's $3.5 million. To me, if you're under $5 million, it's kind of an independent film, in my opinion.
It's so hard though.
But then you ask yourself, well, are the Blumhouse movies that come out that are always capped at $5 million? Are those all independent?
Or all
films?
the A24 films that were shot for less than $5 million?
See, I would kind of consider, like The Wit or the Vivitch.
The Vitch.
I would think that's an independent film, wouldn't you? Would you guys say that is, or do you guys think it's a?
Now I think it did start off with. Well, of course, it didn't have was A24.
Yeah, A24. Yeah.
Before A24 got a hold of it, I think it built up a lot of buzz. If I'm not mistaken, it's been a bit. And then A24 came in, and of course, A24 is grab anything that's kind of against the norm.
Sure. Yeah, they're the weird guys. Yeah, they make weird movies.
It premiered at Sundance, and then A24 come in and grabbed it. That's what happened.
Which is common. So it probably is true. And
its budget was $4 million. So to me, again, if you're kind of falling into that see, Blumhouse is also a little weird outlier because they've got the Blumhouse name, and he can kind of these more high concept kind of horror films. I would say his movies are independent films at the end of the day because you got to compare it to. If you're compared to what is actually being released next to these movies, like an Avengers, where it's $250 million, it automatically falls into like the low budget, the lowest of budgets compared to what's coming out next to it. I think Of course, horror films might be a different exception because almost
Yeah.
all horror films are made on very small budgets.
Well, I was about to say that. I think even if we take the article's premise as true, and we're saying, there's going to be less indie films in the movie theaters, I think the exception will be horror.
Yes.
I mean, look at Paranormal Activity. If Paranormal Activity came out today, it would still be in the theaters.
Yeah.
Because people want the theater jump scares.
And that's why those movies are so successful, is because of the low budgets
Yeah.
and the return on investment.
True.
To answer your question about Honey Boy, it's an independent film. I saw it at a smaller chain, or not even a chain, a smaller theater here in Arkansas, but it did play at these other, smaller theaters across the U.S., and it had distribution. And again, 3.5 million, it's even less than The Witch, and it has a actual star in it.
Sure.
Of course.
Did he direct it too, though?
No, there's a female director, I believe. He wrote it while he was in therapy.
I knew that.
Or maybe not therapy. Maybe it was, I don't really know, recovery or something.
Both.
Rehab. Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's fascinating. I think there's always going to be a place for independent films. It's just there has to be the right circumstance and the right window of opportunity.
Well, let me ask this.
Yeah.
As personally, or as yourself, as indie filmmakers, do you care if you find a successful career, but it's making Netflix movies? Or making Hulu movies, or making HBO movies, or even let's expand that to series or something. If that personally, if I have a future where I'm making the movies I want to make, but they're going straight to Netflix, I don't care. I personally don't care. Now, would I be sitting there and maybe like, well, I'd love to get one in the theater? I probably would at that point, but that's also just because I would always be looking for how do I keep going up. But if I'm making the movies I want to make, I'm telling the stories that I want to tell, and I'm getting to distribute those to audiences, and I'm getting to interact, and they're getting to see them, and that to me is the point of being a filmmaker, is getting to tell stories, getting to interact with people in that kind of storytelling way, and just have people see it and appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's just as valuable or just as rewarding as if they were watching it in a theater. Now, I'm sure watching it in a theater would be better for my career. I'm sure I would make more money if my movies were in my theater or in a theater. But if I'm making movies and they're going to Netflix, I'm sure I'm comfortable. You know what I mean? I'm sure I'm not hurting for cash.
Johnny, what do you think?
I mean, like you just said, this is what you want to do. If I was making just enough money to where I could live comfortably making films, I wouldn't really mind where it's screened at. Of course, genres also. Well, I was thinking about what you were saying earlier. I'm touching back on the little thing with independent being, with the horror film stuff. But there's a difference between also genre indie, whether it be a budget film or a B film, or you got art house. A lot of art house films are pretty cheap. So that's something to take into consideration.
Now, usually those Venn diagrams cross over.
Yeah.
Usually the art house are independent, and the independent are art house.
Yes.
Because usually people that are making independent films are doing it so they don't have the studio oversight that squashes all their cool ideas.
Well, who is it? David Lowery. David Lowery did the Pete's Dragon, and what else has he done? He's done some bigger films.
What's the one with the ghost?
Ghost Story.
Ghost Story.
Oh, okay.
So
I mean, that's.
Well, he's in a spot, and he mentioned this. I think I don't know if it was here whenever he was here for Filmland, but I heard him mention something like where he can go out and make a film that's got, of course, Robert Redford in it or whatever, and then jump back onto the indie route of making something like a Ghost Story. That's like something that's more personal to him. I think that's a give and take of if you become a successful filmmaker, if you can make a good straight film. I didn't mean it like that, like a good, not a tempo film,
Right.
But if you make a good indie, you can probably make a good, $20 million, $30 million film. And then that gives you the freedom of like, oh, okay, we made cash on this one. We're good. I'm going to go back to where my heart's at.
Yeah.
And
Personal
then make personal projects. And start making on those. So if I was, I'd love to do that. Go back and forth. I would definitely do a Marvel film.
Sure,
and go
of
back
course.
and
I mean,
do
I want a Star Wars.
Silly David Lynch.
I will do a better Star Wars than Disney did. I promise you.
I think
Write it down.
I think a couple things here. Big thing is, how does an individual measure his or her success?
Yeah.
And my level of what I perceive as success is much different than someone else's. And also it's the perception that we've been told as, from all of us being born to where we are now of what being a successful filmmaker is. In our eyes, up until even recently in the last 10 years, we have to be on the silver screen, and TV has been looked down upon.
Sure.
It's changed now that we're in the golden age of television, right? And I can only imagine that we'll be in the golden age until forever, until some other medium comes along. It's much different now. I mean, now we can tell really impactful stories on the smaller screen, sometimes even more impactful because we have more real estate to play with.
And there's movies on the small screen that look better than some movies that came out on the big screen.
It's very true. And so it just it's more of a perception change on our end.
Yeah.
I think that, of course, if I got to make, let's say, the Flash on the CW, even though that might not be considered like a Breaking Bad kind of show, that's like my genre that I want to be in, but also on television, I'd be extremely happy. But there will be always a piece in me, and maybe that's just my perception growing up, and just wanting to be in a theater house. I would always want to make that leap at some point in my career to make a theater. Now I may get more return being in the.
You may enjoy the small screen more in the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it depends. I've never done either one, so I don't know. But I think there's always going to be a push and pull for me about where I want to end up.
No, I'm very positive on it. I think partly I've always, since Breaking Bads and The Sopranos and The Wire, I felt for a while that as a storyteller, I would appreciate having a serial to tell versus a movie, just in terms of I want to flesh it out. I want the story to move naturally, to breathe, to have time to do these things that you don't have time to do in a 90 or even 2-hour movie. But the other side of it is that I see is that 10 years ago, when I was just getting into 2009, 11 years ago, when I started college, Netflix was there, but not really. It was just kind of breaching into the streaming, but not just. Like when I was in high school, we'd order DVDs from Netflix, and it was really starting to become a streaming platform. I look at that, and then I look at now, and I see so many more opportunities to get your films sold and seen. I mean, all of these streaming services are desperate for original content, and they're competing because Netflix wants original content that's better than Hulu's original content. So there's bidding wars happening. You know what I'm saying? And to me, I look at that and I say, wow, there's way more opportunity for me here right now to get a start, to get produced, to get someone to like my film, to discover me than there was 10 years ago when the route was mainly film festival, movie theater screen.
Yeah, but also, I mean, yes and no. I think, not to combat in that, we're also in an age where it's so much easier to make a movie now than it was 10 years ago.
That's fair.
And so that means there's more of a bigger pull. There's more fish in the sea, so to speak. And so you have to be even that much better as a filmmaker, have that many more connections. So there's a give and take there. Yes, I think, it's complicated.
There's a good thing I'm the best.
There you go. I do have a question. This is not part of our original idea, Daniel, but I want to ask ask Johnny a question about method acting. Because we had this big long debate earlier today.
See, this is why you were giving me that hurry up sign, because you wanted to get to this.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Off the topic. Austin over here goes.
Rewind the footage. I saw no hand motions. But Johnny, real quick, I wanted a simple yes or no.
To a very complex question that has no yes or no.
In, say, example, The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio, who won the Oscar for the performance. Do you think, like, he ate like a bison's liver or something to that effect? Do you think that is method acting, or is that just doing? Like, what's the difference between, again, yes or no? What's the difference between
that's stupid.
What's the difference between
Oh my God.
method acting and then that is considered like extreme method acting? Is that method acting at that point, or are you just doing at that point?
Well, I think it's a little more complicated than yes or no, but
right.
If he was like,
Let the man speak.
now if they're setting up a shot and he ran out and hunted a buffalo and killed it on set and then reached in there and grabbed its liver and ate it, for one, that's stupid. That's probably the most stupidest thing. But there's no point in eating or doing something drastic. As an actor, and I'm local, so I've not, I'm kind of been all over the place. Before I get ready to shoot something, I'm thinking I'm getting in the character, so my mind goes out from everywhere else. I say I get focused, and then I go do my thing, and then that's that. You know, I'm easy to just drop it. But there's some people who I don't get, and I think Gary Oldman said this. There's no such thing as method acting. If you have to do, he goes, you don't have to go put rocks in your shoes. You don't have to go sleep in, next to a dead body to figure out, where your character needs to go or where it's been or anything like that. I mean, it's I don't think it makes anybody more successful. It just makes you
a dick.
I mean, the counter argument is Daniel Day-Lewis, who's held it as maybe one of the best actors of all time, and he's also one of the most he is an extreme method actor.
Yeah.
He doesn't go out of character for 6 months. And I would say, to your liver example, which is stupid, in my mind, I can see no other reason to eat an actual liver unless you're trying to method act, because he wants to actually taste what a liver would taste like and put himself in those shoes.
I don't think that's acting at that point.
But it literally is by the definition of method acting. I mean, that's the definition they came up with.
I think
you may not like method acting, and that's fine.
I think method acting is ideally originally conceived as what you're talking about is like, yes, what is now coined as maybe extreme method acting, but it should be called something different. Method acting is when you say, I wonder what I'm supposed to play this little girl, and I got to think about what a little girl would do in this moment, and now I'm going to recall like other memories or other things like that to kind of put myself in that mindset, and then I'm going to act. To me, that's what method acting is, right?
Well, no, not necessarily. Now
that's fine.
Now, hang on.
I'm not the expert. It's fine.
It's different.
Well,
Actually,
he was an expert earlier today.
I'll
tell you that. He was a goddamn expert.
You're over here fucking looking up shit on the computer, trying to discredit everything I was saying.
Now,
and successfully did so.
And you guys have seen this probably like at UCA, but whenever you're talking about method acting, and they always bring up Marlon Brando and James Dean.
Yes.
Marlon Brando on a waterfront when he's walking around and they're having that conversation, and he looks like he's not really engaged, but he's kind of doing stuff with the glove and stuff like that. It's just bringing realism to the character, which like you don't have to do that. Supposedly he put his finger up his butt and
now you're talking about
Last Tango in Paris, I believe. He put butter in his butt or something like that.
Wait, what? What was that, Chief?
Good question. I don't know if he did. It might be
I think it was to his co-star.
If you know, please write in and let us know what butter in your butt does.
He put her through a gauntlet of terrible things. But and then you got like
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. I mean, I don't know. Daniel, but also Gary Oldman. I'm sure he said this, and I think that's where I saw it, was that about method acting. That there's no such thing. You don't have to do that. And look at Gary Oldman. He's one of the best.
Yeah,
and I love that because I get it. I'm not one. And now going back into the memory recall, I think it's called recall. It's something in theater, but when you get on stage, you and I actually was taught this when I took Intro to Theater at Pulaski Tech. Which I've never taken any acting classes. This is I'm just throwing this out there, but I'm not a trained actor. But whenever I've done theater and I've done film, me as an actor, I just feel what the character is feeling, and everything just kind of goes away around me. So, for a real quick example, we did Judgment at Nuremberg 7-8 years ago. I was Rudolph Peterson in a play. In the film, he was a pretty prominent role. A very small role, but it was a impactful scene where, this guy who is being questioned about his sanity, or not his sanity, but whether he's, smart or a simple man, or he's, and this mother. And it's an incredible scene. But whenever I was doing it at the Weekend Theater in this play, I literally got teary eyed and everything, and that's just because I felt the character. I didn't think of my dog Flash, he was shot when I was 6, and I can't because that pulls me out of character. So, every actor has got their own way of doing things. Sure. I just don't think that you have to do memory recall to get a thing out. I don't think you have to be method to get in a character. When I see people kind of getting a little ridiculous on a set like that, I just tend to stay away from them.
Yeah, we were watching a clip earlier it was Robert De Niro. Who was the other guy?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but basically it was Robert De Niro on set. It was a BTS clip. And he was just making fun of him for the method. He's like, why don't you know your lines? Why don't you go in your trailer and read them? He's like, you and your method acting and your breathing and your bullshit. I love it. It's great. I'll have to find that clip, but yeah.
Good stuff. I think it's great. That's pretty awesome.
Well, maybe one day we'll learn the secrets and the truth of method acting. But until then, Johnny, how can our listeners find out more about Made in Arkansas?
Our Facebook page right now. Now, if anybody out there goes to our website, it's been down for a while. Not down, but it just hasn't been updated. Working on that. But right now, everything's kind of quiet. You know, we had a festival back in May. Right now, we're quiet. We're going to have we're actually going to screen at Ron Robinson, have the films, eventually play out. But right now, with everything, we might not do that. So, But definitely go to Made in Arkansas on our Facebook page for any information. Right now, I'm sharing older films every couple of days. So if any filmmakers out there have an older film that's shot here in Arkansas, send it my way, and we'll just share it. And then, but yeah, that's right. That's us right now. Yeah.
And how can our listeners find out more about you or follow you, Johnny, on your journey?
Oh, well, let's see here. Well, I'm working on getting my Facebook page. Actually, right now, I'm kind of reestablishing myself as a filmmaker. I just got a bunch of equipment, so I'm getting ready to start writing again. I'm getting ready to start acting again. So I've been doing the Actors Co-op. They've been having a little group meeting. Lately, it's been once a week, but just kind of reconnect them with actors and stuff like that. And I think every actor should do it. There's a lot of people out there who say they're actors and they don't want to put in the work. So I think that
shame.
It's a shame.
Shame.
So the people who like to say they're actors and they don't like to, put in the work and go support the filmmakers or support their peers. So, but no, I'm working on that right now. So right now, just be on the lookout. I'll come back. I'll show you. I promise.
Just like Arnold. Yeah. And Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
They can write in at bit.ly/2for1mail. There, you can tell us who you agree with in the method acting debate. You can also send your own opinions on our whole discussion on indie film. I'd love to hear from some more indie filmmakers. Do you think there's more opportunities now? Are you discouraged by the idea that you may have less access to the big screen, etc.? But that's right, bit.ly/2for1mail. Write in right there. There's a nice little form. You fill it out. You say stuff. We respond to it.
Yeah. And for all your podcast services, go to podcast2for1.com and also go to our YouTube channel and please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. That way you're up to date on all future episodes. And of course, if you can't, our bit.ly/2for1mail, always leave a comment below on our YouTube channel. Of course, we're also available on all podcast services. And also, again, only 5 stars. We don't take it unless there's 5 stars.
We don't want it. We've now adopted a new slogan. It's hot takes, hot guys.
Yeah.
Because we have both, and we are both. So if you have any hot takes, you can send them to these hot guys and comment on our shit. And do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, Johnny, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You guys know the drill. My name is Donovan Thompson.
I'm Johnnie Brannon.
I am Daniel Wingfield.
And we have spoken.